Good morning. And it's Backchannel. Yes, it is. It's the Anthony Davis Show. You're live with us here, the only place on your Echo device where you can watch and listen to live shows and chat with hosts in real time. This is the Anthony Davis Show. I'm Anthony Davis. Sorry I missed you yesterday. I was sick as a pig, as they say. I don't seem to be able to catch coronavirus. I've been trying as hard as I can. I just don't seem to be able to get it. I was so convinced I had the coronavirus. I dragged myself down to urgent care to get a PCR test. Tickled my brain with his stick, the chap, who I've met a few times now in there. He's like, oh, you again. And I was like, yeah. And, you have to wait 24 hours for the result. And it was negative, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm sure I've got the coronavirus, the Rona, or the Miley, as we call it in my house. You call it the Miley? The Miley Cyrus? Virus? No? We call it the Miley. It's Cockney rhyming slang. Yeah, the Miley Cyrus. So anyway, I still feel like you can probably hear it. I actually sound better, I just feel worse. I'm here every weekday from 9 a.m. Pacific, that's 12 o'clock Eastern, and you can get involved with the show by sending a message, ask questions, chime in on what we're talking about, or anything else you want to send our way. And if you can see me right now, you're watching on an Echo show or Fire TV, well, the magic word is say, so wake up your device, say the word say, and then your message. If you're listening right now on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, go to backchannel.tv and click join the chat. That's backchannel.tv and click join the chat. Already people joining the chat, thank you very much. John's popped in already from California. Hi John, welcome to you. And hit the subscribe button if you'd like to. And then you can be part of the team, as it were. And a reminder that the subscribe button is brand new and it will enable you to receive reminders on the show. So you will always be in the know. Texas, Stacy's just dropped in, everybody's favorite. She's definitely subscribed. Today's subjects, well, we're going to be looking at the millions of women across the U.S. who could soon lose their legal right to an abortion, according to a leaked Supreme Court document. This is causing ramifications right around the country. The 2024 election, Republican Governor Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas is considering a run for presidential office. Who is he? And what does he stand for? We'll profile the potential presidential candidate. And Donald Trump, in a forthcoming book, former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, said Trump wanted to shoot demonstrators protesting George Floyd's death. I was thinking about that earlier today, and I was thinking about the fact that during those protests here in Los Angeles and in many cities across the country, shops were boarded up, the National Guard was on the streets. I was like, this is Trump's presidency. The National Guard on the streets and tanks in the streets. Well, they were Hummers, those military Hummers in camouflage, the Humvee. I was like, where am I living? Is this like LA or Basra? It's nuts. And finally, on this day in 1937, Margaret Mitchell won the Pulitzer Prize for Gone with the Wind. And we're going to find out a little bit about that story. So many interesting aspects to it. But also why Gone with the Wind was a problematic movie. Mired in decades of controversy and critical conversations. So all that to come here on Backchannel. We're also going to look through the morning papers and see how the news is presenting itself. The Washington Post is where we'll start this morning. Supreme Court ready to reverse Roe v. Wade is how that starts. It says the majority or a majority of the court is prepared to overturn the right to an abortion, established nearly 50 years ago in Roe v. Wade, according to a leaked draft of the opinion published on Monday by Politico. That conclusion seemed a possibility in December when the court considered a Mississippi law that would ban abortions after 15 weeks. But the disclosure yesterday by Politico of a draft opinion that it said was circulated by Justice Samuel Alito was an extreme breach of the modern Supreme Court protocol. The report says that after oral arguments, Alito, along with Justice Clarence Thomas and all three of President Donald Trump's nominees to the court, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, all voted to overturn the precedent. I mean, this is Trump's legacy. This is Trump's legacy. And if you thought that Trump was history, no. The installation of 3 Supreme Court judges, one of whom is completely unqualified, The other has been accused of rape. And the other is a staunch conservative. This is neo-fascism. This is evangelical Christian nationalism. This is all of the things that we fear in America because we want America to lead the world with its kind of forward-thinking, progressive ideals. Because to be progressive is to want to forward society in a direction where people have ownership of themselves and are not sheep and do not have to follow any one set of rules. And it just seems crazy to me that, conservatives are all about freedom, and yet they're banning abortion, banning the teaching of LGBTQ+, banning the teaching of race, banning trans people from taking part in sports. It's like ban this, ban that, ban that. Where is that freedom? And yet when it comes to guns, they'll say banning guns doesn't work, as another school shooting gets reported. So this cherry picking of rules is terrifying, but it is a neo-fascism. It's a form of extremism that has infiltrated America. And it does not reflect the wider opinion here in the States. That's the crazy thing. It's like this is a minority opinion that has been catapulted into the mainstream. Well, the final document is not necessarily the final word on what the court will say when it decides the Mississippi case this term, which will be in the late June, early July. It says drafts or opinions. Hang on, it's just been confirmed. Supreme Court Justice Judge John Roberts confirms leak of draft abortion ruling and orders investigation. Roberts vows court will find source of leak. So this is confirmation that it's true. And he said the Supreme Court's marshal will investigate the source of the leak of the draft opinion on abortion, which was genuine and was published late on Monday, and slammed the egregious breach of trust. It says, in what is regarded as an unprecedented leak of a draft majority opinion to overturn the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, legalizing the right to an abortion in America, Roberts was not among the 5 names listed in the majority. And the court's first public reaction since the scoop by Politico, Roberts said, the document described in yesterday's reports is authentic. It does not represent a decision by the court or the final position of any member on the issues of the case. In a statement, he added, to the extent this betrayal of the confidence of the court was intended to undermine the integrity of our operations, it will not succeed. Biden has said it's really quite a radical decision, a fundamental shift, as he spoke to reporters while on his way from the White House to take a flight to Alabama to review the making of heavy weapons destined for Ukraine. He said, essentially, if this decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision. It's a fundamental shift in American jurisprudence. And he said, if this is the final decision, it has implications for every decision in your private life. It will affect choices about who you marry, whether you use contraception and family planning, how you raise your children. I don't quite understand why he's not saying, well, we're going to fight this. Why is he not saying we're going to change the law in Congress? Why are we not going to get the votes and change the filibuster to fight it? I just feel like Joe Biden is institutionalized. Old school. And, the right is not playing by those rules. So why should he? He seems to think he can bring balance back to the court and to the Congress, and I just don't see how that's possible now. Also on the front of the Washington Post, a poll says big majority of Americans back sanctions on Russia and aid to Ukraine. Moscow looks to cement control of much of the east by annexation. Yes, Moscow is preparing to annex vast swathes of Ukrainian territory in the coming days, potentially moving to cement control of much of the country's east, even as Russian forces fail to capture key areas on the battlefield. Multiple accusations against Madison Cawthorn. This is a North Carolina Republican congressman who is a neo-fascist and far-right extremist, and yet has been photographed in a variety of semi-naked poses recently with other young boys. It says soon after being sworn in, authorities said they confiscated a gun from the freshman lawmaker at an airport security checkpoint, which Cawthorn's spokesman said was a mistake. It happened again last week, which Cawthorn said was a flat-out mistake. The 26-year-old was charged with driving with a revoked license in March in North Carolina following speeding citations in January and October. His spokesman said he expected these traffic matters to be resolved quickly. Fellow House members accused Cawthorn of lying to a Capitol police officer late last year to sneak a GOP candidate onto the House floor, which Cawthorn has declined to comment on. And fellow North Carolina Republican Senator Thomas Tillis last month called for a thorough and bipartisan inquiry of allegations of insider trading against Cawthorn, which he has yet to directly address. Yes, he also claimed that he was being invited to orgies by other congresspeople. I mean, the guy is basically a bad egg. He's in a wheelchair because he was in a car accident. He's just a bad egg. And somehow he got voted into Congress. And this is what's happening now. These characters, they're like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, people who you would never expect to hold public office, to be a representative of the people. They are now being voted in because, the American people listen to what these people have to say. They're like, yeah, I like that person. I like that they're a rebel. And they don't realize that rebels will undermine the status quo and they will create chaos. And maybe you want chaos. I mean, maybe some people prefer chaos. Maybe they think that that's what America needs. The problem is America is a very big country with a lot of people in it. And, you do need rules. I mean, otherwise it's like turning off all the traffic lights. Imagine what that would be like if all the traffic lights were turned off. In Australia, pokies are rife, so is problem gambling. This is interesting. It says one by one, the men and women recounted lives ruined, relationships severed, bank accounts emptied. A young father stared at the ceiling in shame as he described another relapse. This is the story of meeting in a drab church building in a working-class suburb of Sydney and talking about the pokies. Electronic slot machines, what they're called, confined largely to casinos, while in the United States millions flock to Las Vegas or Atlantic City each year to press a button and watch the wheels spin in the hope of a jackpot. But in Australia, pokies, as the machines are called, are everywhere. They're in thousands of hotels and pubs in big cities and small towns. They've transformed neighborhood social clubs into gleaming gambling palaces. In many cities, it's hard to walk more than a few blocks without encountering a VIP room or a VIP lounge. Yeah, you're not a very important person if you play the pokies. You're just not. Alicia's joined us. Hello, Alicia. Welcome. David's popped in from California. Mark as well. Simon's here. And Dee. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you. Welcome to Backchannel. A reminder that if you'd like to send a message, you can see me right now. Therefore, you're watching on an Echo Show or a Fire TV. The magic word is say. So wake her up, say the words say, and then your message. And if you're just listening on an Echo speaker right now and you can't see me, go to backchannel.tv and click join the chat. That's backchannel.tv. Okay. Yeah, so keep joining in. Send your messages. Stacey says, are you ready for lunch? Yes, I'm ready for lunch. I could really... Do you know, this might sound crazy because I haven't eaten meat, like red meat and dairy and all that stuff. I haven't eaten that for like 3 years now. I've started craving a steak. I've started having steak cravings. Maybe I need iron. Yeah. Maybe I'm craving a steak. Maybe that's why I got like faux coronavirus in the last few days. A béarnaise sauce with a steak, French fries, or a twice-baked jacket potato. They just call them baked potatoes in America. In England, they call them jacket potatoes. In America, they're baked potatoes. And what I love is, you ask for a jacket potato in America, and they literally look at you like, what? It's like the cardinal sin. I sometimes like to go into McDonald's and order a Burger King menu. Do you ever do that, just for fun? Go into McDonald's and ask for a double Whopper with cheese? Or go into Burger King and ask for a McChicken sandwich or a filet of fish or a Big Mac? They hate it. That's the kind of crime I think is okay to commit. Ordering off the wrong menu in the wrong fast food joint. You love Taco Bell? That's so offensive. I've never been to a Taco Bell. I can't imagine why anybody would want to go there. For the quesadillas. I went to a taco truck the other day. There are a lot of taco trucks here, and or taco as they call them here. And a taco is like $1.50. And the price has gone up because they used to be $1. And I had a vegetarian taco. Just the protein was avocado. And it was quite delicious. Quite delicious. But it's so good for you. If you think about it. A little corn tortilla or a flour tortilla. I prefer the corn tortillas myself. But, each to their own. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful to eat like this. I might have to slip out and go get a snack. Okay, so that's the Washington Post this morning. Let's jump into something else and something new, something borrowed, and something blue. Let's go to the Stewart News now for Florida. The system. Here we go. I have to click these in the right order, otherwise they don't appear on my screen in the right place. It's so frustrating. Okay, let's have a look. Here we go. The Stewart News. DeSantis pushes for open carry law. Aye. It's just relentless. Stewart Police Department to receive $64,650 to fight gun violence. Same newspaper. After reported gunfire tripled during 2021 from previous years in Stewart, the city commission approved $64,000 for the police to use enhanced technology to help combat gun violence. Stewart Police Chief Joseph Timonelli said that officers responded to a sharp rise in reported gunfire. Police documented 15 reported gunfire incidents in 2021. The incidents include shootings in which people were shot as well as gunfire. The majority of gunfire cases in East Stewart are in East Stewart, and the increase is drastic, especially after community members, city leaders, and police worked together to reduce gun violence. How do they reduce gun violence? They just shoot the people that own the guns. Is that what they're doing? Just take them out. And they'll be like, they won't shoot anyone anymore. Anyway, so let's now go to the first story, which is DeSantis pushes for open carry gun law. Did I say this last week? I have a feeling that DeSantis is going to be the first Republican governor to ban the teaching of climate change. This is my theory. It's not been announced, but I was thinking about it. And I was like, hang on a second. He's going after anything, like any of the radicals. So he's going to say that climate change is a left-wing thing, which he said before. And he'll be like, we will not have our children indoctrinated into thinking that climate change is real and scaring them. And I guarantee that that's going to be the next thing that happens. But he's doing it on purpose. He knows that he's going to lose that Disney thing. I mean, he's doing it because he's fundraising. All of this is fundraising. The guy raised, last week they said he'd raised $108 million, right? Fundraising. Well, the most that's ever been raised, in this similar situation is like 30 million. The guy has raised an insane amount of money for doing all of this crazy stuff and being on the front pages of all the papers. That's all he's wanting to do, is become famous. Yeah, but, he might be the poor man's Trump, but Trump might not run. And if Trump doesn't run, then he becomes Trump, 2.0. Governor Ron DeSantis reaffirmed his support for an open carry law for firearms, which supporters called constitutional carry, and predicted the Florida legislature will get it done. I can tell you if it's going to be next week, 6 months, next week, 6 months, but I can tell you before I'm done as governor, we will have a signature on that bill, said the Republican governor during a press conference on Friday in rural Levy County to talk about a separate issue, local infrastructure funding. Momentum is building towards a change in Florida on constitutional carry. This is, just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. But, I'm culturally, I'm the wrong person to ask. How would I know? The story about Jay Allen of the Reds, talking about being the one asking minor league players for autographs, going to St. Lucie Mets games and sitting in the crowd, thinking one day he'll be the one living out a dream of playing professional baseball. So a nice little story about him as well, the little boy. Do you know, I've been watching some of the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard deposition. Have you been watching any of that? I don't normally take any interest in this, and I don't care for celebrities' private lives. I don't think it's any of our business. So I'm not going to talk about the case, but I'm going to talk about the fact that to see an actor like Johnny Depp, who you know so well as an actor, to see him as like himself sitting there, talking about his bedroom and his office and, like going to the bathroom, normal things. It's quite refreshing to kind of see that. But the one takeaway I have from it really is that drink and drugs and mental health on both sides, because they're both clearly struggling, can just destroy people. It can destroy relationships, it can destroy families. And really, you just, unless you are able to do, light recreational drinking. I can drink like maybe half a glass of wine. I can drink. That's the most I can drink before I'm like ready to go to sleep. I just have no capacity for alcohol whatsoever. And I feel very grateful that that's my constitution because, the people that can just drink endlessly and somehow still want to continue talking or partying, it's very destructive. So I just felt very sorry for them both because I see two people who are both very ill, and I fear that their respective illnesses and their compatibility was compromised by drink and drugs and personality disorder and all sorts of things. And, it's like there's just no hope for those people. And it was interesting to watch it, though. Just interesting. He's so great in Pirates of the Caribbean. And what I love about Jack Sparrow, the character, is that, there's like memes going around now of him like going to children's hospitals as Jack Sparrow and meeting patients and hugging the kids and being hilarious and gorgeous and all these things. But my favorite thing he does is, there's a Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney. He goes into the ride and stands still as one of the attractions. They take out the Jack Sparrow, the fake Jack Sparrow animatronic, and Johnny Depp stands there still. And as the boat comes by with the passengers on it, the customers, he starts like chatting. Hello there, how's this? And like talking to them as individuals. And he's done it several times now. You can look it up on the internet and see, Johnny Depp at Disney. And it's just so brilliant that this is something that he likes to do, just goes and does it. I don't know whether he gets paid or whether he does it for fun. But it's just so wonderful to kind of see people's faces when they realize that it really is Johnny Depp. Let's look at the Ledger Inquirer now. World War II bombers visit Columbus as part of Air Power History Tour. This is two World War II bombers, the B-29 Superfortress and the B-24 Liberator, along with the P-51 Mustang gunfighter. They arrived on Monday afternoon at the Columbus airport as part of the commemorative Air Force Air Power History Tour. That's exciting. I do love an aeroplane, I will be flying on an aeroplane in 4 weeks' time, and I'm very excited. I haven't been on an aeroplane on a long-haul flight for like 3 years. And such is my love of the aeroplane that I have chosen a specific plane to fly on that I have not been on before. This is very important to me. And not only am I flying on this plane, and I'm super excited about it, but I just read yesterday that, which airline is it? I forget which airline it is, but they're going to be, I think, is it, what's the Australian airline? Qantas. I think it's Qantas. They've just bought 12 of these planes. It's called it's an Airbus A350-1000 to do the world's longest flight, which is around 19 hours. Imagine being on a plane for 19 hours. So if you're going to be on a plane for that long, you want it to be a good one, don't you? Anyway, so they've just bought this plane because it is capable of doing these extended missions. And it's very interesting just seeing the way that they're configuring the plane to make it more comfortable for people on the long-haul flight. Very interesting to me. You flew KLM to America and you had a good time. No one has a good time on KLM. Oh, you thought the food was good. Yeah. KLM food is not good. I mean, the KLM generally is like, it's a bit of a lazy airline, you know? They're I love that kind of childhood memory, you know? It's like, it's so powerful, isn't it? It's just so powerful. I'm Anthony Davis. This is Backchannel. If you're enjoying the show, there's 2 ways you can support the show. If you're watching right now and you can see the subscribe button in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, click it. Subscribing will let you know that we are going live. We've also got some special plans coming up in the next few weeks for those who are subscribed. Another way that you can help out is no matter where you're watching or listening is by leaving a review. So go to backchannel.tv and click Leave a Review. That was 15. I'll do 30 next. Columbus could get $303 million for transit projects. It says a 1% sales tax could fund an estimated $303 million worth of listed transportation projects in Columbus if voters in Columbus from around the region approve it next month. Interesting. I mean, you know, who doesn't love a transit project? Do you happen to know, Carla, in London if Crossrail is open yet? I'll take that as a no. I'm just desperate because I'm going to be in London for a week and I'm desperate to go east-west and I want to try this new train. And I'm, you know, part of my decision to come back when I'm coming back is because Crossrail, which they've been building for a decade, literally for 10 years, longer actually, 15 years they've been building Crossrail for. That is Crossrail. They renamed it the Elizabeth Line. Yeah. It is? Oh, well, if it is open, this is life-changing for me, because this is going to change everything. I knew they were testing it. They were doing some testing. It's the Elizabeth Line. Yeah. Well, I'm desperate to go on it, so I'm really hoping it's open, because that's going to be life-changing for me. That's going to make my trip completely worthwhile. Did I tell you I have tickets for the Queen's Platinum Pageant? Yeah. Love it. Raffensperger assailed for handling of 2020 election. It says Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's 3 Republican challengers accused him on Monday of failing to adequately investigate allegations of voter fraud following the 2020 presidential election. Raffensperger shot back during an hour-long debate live streamed by Georgia Public Broadcasting that his office examined every allegation and found nothing that would have affected the results. Raffensperger's opponents in the May 24 Republican primary include Jody Heiss, David Bell, and T.J. Hudson. Heiss has been endorsed by former President Trump, whom Raffensperger crossed in early January last year after he refused to find the 11,000 votes that Trump was looking for in a tape. You know, it's just like this coup is happening in plain sight. It's not even a secret anymore. Like literally, like it's just all out there. If you're enjoying the show, you're watching Backchannel. I'm Anthony Davis. We're here every weekday, Monday through Friday, from 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern. And you can send me a message. If you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo Show or Fire TV, the magic word is say. So just wake up your device, say the word say, and then your message. And if you're listening right now on an Echo speaker and you cannot see me, go to backchannel.tv and click join the chat. That's backchannel.tv. There you go. And welcome to you if you're joining in. Johnny's popped in. Terry's here. Charlotte's here. Stacey says leave a review on the Amazon Alexa app on the Backchannel skill. Okay. Mauricio's joined us. Alvina is here for the first time as well. Welcome, Alvina. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. You're in Washington. Walker is with us as well and is listening right now. You can go to backchannel.tv and message me from there. Just Crow has popped in and is watching. You can also click subscribe. And lots of no names. If you want to change your no name to a name, just ask your device to do so. Mark's here, Simon, David, Alicia, Dee, Patty, Stacey, and John. Thank you to all of you for spending your morning with Backchannel. I'm here till 11, and then your pal Hal. Hey, I saw Hal Pal. I saw him. I actually saw him. I didn't meet him. I saw him. You'll never guess what happened. I went to see Jeff Goldblum at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. And Jeff Goldblum gets up on the stage before the show for half an hour and is just doing chit-chat with the audience. And then he goes, is Hal Rudnick here? And I was like, what is happening? And Hal's sitting right down at the end of the third row from the front. And he starts waving. And Jeff Goldblum's like, hi Hal, how are you? And I'm like, this is blowing my mind. I'm sitting here and your pal Hal is chatting with Jeff Goldblum on the stage. I was literally blowing my mind. So I send a message to Hal. I'm like, I'm here. I can see you. And he's like, ha ha ha, yeah. And anyway, I could see Hal sitting in his chair. But of course, there's 2,000 people there, so I wasn't going to be able to bump into him. And that was it. That was the last. I have not met Hal, but I've seen Hal from a distance because I was sitting on the opposite side. Isn't that crazy? It's just crazy. It's beautiful and crazy. So then I decided, right, I'm going to go and look up Hal. Do a lot of research because I want to know why Jeff Goldblum's so into Hal. And then I realized that I think Hal probably interviewed Jeff Goldblum a long time ago and they became friends. Because Hal used to work for a thing called Screen Junkies, which is was a bit of a cult movie fanatics TV channel. Anyway, it's a long story. I'll discuss it with Hal a little bit later. We're going to chat to him in about an hour or two. No, an hour. So there we go. Isn't that great? Anyway. Terry, welcome to Backchannel in Missouri. First time on the show. Welcome. Nice to see you. Exact Eel has joined us as well. Terry says hi. I say hi. And Johnny's here as well. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining Backchannel. And, we're here every day doing this stuff. And you can join in, you can message, you can chat, you can just listen, whatever you fancy. Back to the newspapers. The Star Advertiser this morning for Hawaii. Court on track to repeal Roe. It said a leaked draft indicates a majority of justices support overturning the 1973 law that legalized abortion nationwide. Yes, a draft opinion circulating among Supreme Court justices suggests that earlier this year a majority of them had thrown support behind overturning the 1973 case Roe v. Wade that legalized abortion nationwide, according to a report published on Monday night in Politico. The Associated Press couldn't immediately confirm the authenticity. Well, it has been confirmed now. The news outlet published what was labeled as the first draft of the opinion of the court in a case challenging Mississippi ban on abortion after 15 weeks, a case known as Dobbs versus Jackson's Women Health Organization. The Supreme Court has yet to issue a ruling in the case, and opinions and even justices' votes have been known to change during the drafting process. Well, that's not going to change because, let's be honest, Donald Trump stacks the court with extreme views, and so, this is what's going to be. Abortion will be banned in America. Well, what they'll do is they'll leave it down to the states to decide. And so all of the states that can will ban it. Ban it. They'll just ban it. That's the tragedy of modern America. That's the tragedy of modern America. Hawaii reacts to leaked Supreme Court decision. Many knew it was coming, but to hear the details of a leaked draft majority U.S. Supreme Court decision that would strike down Roe v. Wade was still shocking to many abortion rights activists in the islands. We are horrified, said Ann Fried of the American Association of University Women of Hawaii. This is not a surprise, she said. Given the politicization of the Supreme Court, this was inevitable. But in my mind, it's another blow against democracy. It's very sad. Fried said that before the landmark Roe v. Wade decision in 1973, which legalized abortion nationwide, she was among those who marched in the streets in hopes of granting women control of their own bodies. She said there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into it. I can't believe we'll have to re-fight this all over again. It's heartbreaking. This will not stand. This will not go back. We will do whatever it takes. I mean, why didn't Joe Biden say that? When interviewed, why didn't Joe Biden use that kind of language? And the crazy thing is, the people that are making this decision aren't even female. They're all blokes. So you basically got like old men telling young women what they can do with their bodies. This is America, folks. And also you could look at it from a racial perspective. It's a majority of old white men telling young black women. I mean, this story is, it's a tragedy because, to take things away from people is diminishing freedom. Giving people their freedom is giving people their rights, the right to vote, the right to protest, and the right to, your own human rights. Terry says that, he said, that's, amen, Anthony, that's the crazy GOPs now. Because banning abortion takes the right away from women. Today it's abortion, tomorrow you will lose more rights. I mean, for me, the sadness is in the fact that Roe v. Wade was 48 years ago. It was 1973. Nearly 50 years, and here we are, nearly 50 years later, having to go through this whole thing again. Why? Because some neo-fascist, far-right, evangelical Christian nationalists managed to get hold of the presidency for 4 years. That's why. Yeah, this is gonna cause death on a massive scale. People will be doing their own abortions. This is gonna cost lives. Now, fortunately, there are what we call sanctuary states. States that are majority Democrat, where this type of stuff is considered to be sacred, and so. People will be coming to California to get an abortion. But the problem is that only the people that can afford to travel to California will be able to get an abortion. And so the poor will be left behind. Cody's in. Cody's from Tennessee and says hello. Hello. Terry says, Anthony, you're correct. Banning abortion doesn't stop abortion. Well, this is true. But it does prevent abortion for the poorest people who cannot afford to travel to a sanctuary state or afford to get, private care. This is why California has been extending the opportunity to the people of states where abortion has already been banned and inviting them to California to have their abortion, paying for them to travel. There's organizations now that are making these suggestions. And so this is becoming the reality that America is winding the clock back 50 years, not just in terms of abortion, but in terms of racism and in terms of segregation and in terms of anti-gay sentiment. Do you remember all that? Like, and when HIV was first a thing, and there was all this aggression and anger and fury against the gay community. That's now back as well. Not for HIV, but just for LGBTQ plus people generally. Meanwhile, Amazon is going to reimburse staff in the US who travel for a wide range of non-life-threatening medical treatments, including elective abortions. In a message to Amazon staff, it was said that the firm will pay up to $4,000 in travel expenses each year for treatments that is not available nearby. Several other companies have announced plans that ensure staff have access to abortions. It comes amid rising restrictions for the procedure nationwide. Amazon's new benefits are effective retroactively from the 1st of January. According to the announcement, the new benefits will apply to treatments that are not available inside a 100-mile radius of an employee's home and for which virtual options are not available. An Amazon spokesperson confirmed the benefit and said that it also includes bariatric care, oncology, congenital anomalies from within 24 months of birth, mental health treatments, and inpatient substance abuse. I mean, this is the reality now, isn't it? That the kind of social system that is healthcare. Because healthcare needs to be a social system. It's not just a corporate system. It doesn't work as a corporate system. We've seen that here in America. That's why 1 million people died from coronavirus, more than in any other country in the world. Because there is no healthcare system here. There is healthcare for those that can afford it. But there is no system. And so what these private companies like Amazon are having to do is create these benefits and systems to enable regular working people to have access to healthcare, especially if the Supreme Court are going to ban abortion or leave it up to the states. We did the Star Advertiser. Let's go to Louisiana next for the Daily Advertiser. Electric vehicles surging in the South, and a photograph of the all-electric Ford F-150 Lightning that has been raised off the ground whilst they, I think, fit the wheels. It says legislation to charge Louisiana drivers who own electric or hybrid vehicles an annual state road usage fee cleared the House Transportation Committee on Monday. Supporters of Baton Rouge's Republican Representative Barbara Friedberg's House Bill 1031 argue electric vehicle owners are getting a free ride on Louisiana's roads and bridges. That's because the tax revenue generated to pay for upkeep and improvements of existing roads and bridges is through the 20 cents per gallon state gasoline tax. And since electric vehicles use no gas and hybrids use a reduced amount of gas, the owners of those vehicles avoid all or most of the taxes paid by gas guzzlers. Do you have an electric vehicle? Do you want an electric vehicle? Because if you're living in Baton Rouge, they've now decided that you're going to have to pay more to drive one. I mean, this is so offensive, isn't it? This is yet again the Republican Party taking a positive move, which is a zero emissions vehicle, which is going to prevent climate change, and saying you have to pay more. Instead of taxing the people that are driving gas cars more, they're now going to focus on electric people. This makes no sense. The bill would charge EV owners $110 annually and hybrid owners $60 annually through the state income tax form, which would rely on voluntary compliance. It says this intent is to establish the principle of paying a fair share. So stupid. It's a road usage fee, so those driving EVs and hybrids pay something for our roads. Well, why don't you charge the gas companies? Why don't you go and get that money off of the energy companies? Wilson said Louisiana had $14.8 billion in deferred transportation maintenance projects. 13 state bridges have already been closed this year because they're either unsafe or in disrepair. There's no intellectualism in this decision. There's literally no thought. No thought. And I tell you what this does. This goes back to my earlier point of eventually Republican states will stop teaching about climate change in schools because they don't believe that climate change is real. And so therefore, they're going to start charging people who do believe in climate change, who do care about the planet. They'll be like, you want to believe in that poppycock? You pay for it. You're enjoying Backchannel. I'm Anthony Davis. We're here every weekday, Monday through Friday. I'm here 9 till 11 Pacific. That's 12 till 2 Eastern. You can send me a message if you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo Show or Fire TV. The magic word is say. Let's wake up your device, say, and then your message. And if you're just listening on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, go to backchannel.tv and click Join the Chat. That's backchannel.tv and click Join the Chat. So many messages. Thank you very much for these. What do we have here? Let's take a look. Yeah, Stacey's reminding me that 11 till 1 Central. Yeah. Terry says the Republican Party are obstructionist. Well, this is true. They basically obstruct any legislation or any suggestions by Democrats. They don't care for the detail of the policy. All they care about is obstruction. But all views are welcome, of course, unless, your views are extremist, and then I'll have to call them out. And we're going to look at a potential Republican candidate for president shortly. Got an interesting topic about somebody who's presented themselves as a potential candidate in that department. Also on the Daily Advertiser, how car sales, jobs, investments are driving momentum. Says school buses ordinarily demand to be noticed. If the deep rumble of a diesel engine doesn't get your attention, perhaps the heavy stench of exhaust will. When Jared Adams first took a seat on Washington County, Tennessee's newest school bus last year, he was struck by a new sensation: silence. It's very quiet, he said, and there's no fumes. It's really different. Yes, last year, Adams District became the first school system in the state to put an all-electric school bus on the road. The bus accelerates swiftly and smoothly along its 30-mile route as it fetches students from the hilly country roads outside Jonesboro, Tennessee. It's so silent, a jingle was programmed to play when the bus slows below 15 miles an hour to alert pedestrians to its presence. Adams says children were amazed they no longer have to scream across the aisle to chat with their friends. He said he's just pleased the district is working towards turning their big yellow buses green. So, I've been thinking about this because we have a school right here that my child goes to, and the school buses are up and down the street all the time, and they really are very smelly and diesely and noisy. And that's just the kids. And I was thinking, I wonder if anyone's made an electric school bus, So I'm just going to look it up because I think I want to see what it looks like. Here we go. Electric school bus. I just want to see whether they've made it look exactly the same. Oh, hang on. California school districts have ordered electric school buses. Motive Power Systems is powering a fleet of Starcraft eQuest all-electric school buses slated for delivery throughout California this fall. This was on the 28th. This was 2018, this article. Well, that didn't happen. I haven't seen any electric school buses. I'm just looking at a picture of it. It kind of looks like a regular school bus. Kind of. I mean, it's yellow. They have 85 miles of range, and they can complete their routes on a single charge. I think there's a few kinds. Let's have a look at this one. This story is from... this is from March 2021. Okay, this one looks more like a school bus. Lion Electric, a manufacturer of electric medium and heavy-duty urban vehicles, has secured an order for its electric school buses from the Los Angeles Unified School District. The initial order of 10 follows Lion's recent delivery to the Twin Rivers Unified School District in Sacramento. LAUSD is the second largest school district in the U.S. with 1,000 schools. Lion collaborated closely with the agency to ensure its buses meet the unique requirements of this diverse district. The buses, which were funded in part by the California Energy Commission's School Bus Replacement Program, are expected to be delivered this spring. Each Lion C bus has a range of 155 miles, and it incorporates an integrated wheelchair lift. Lion will also provide support and training to LAUSD from its recently opened Experience Center in Alhambra, California. To date, Lion has delivered over 300 electric school buses in North America, with over 6 million miles driven since 2016. This is very interesting to me. I mean, I would be thrilled to see electric school buses everywhere, and this one looks kind of cool. You know, it looks more like a school bus should look. So I think they're hoping to have them all replaced by 2035. Oh, New York State commits to 100% electric school buses by 2035. I mean, it's so important, but it just makes it even more offensive that legislation in Louisiana to charge electric drivers to use the roads, it just doesn't make sense to me. You know, like if you're trying to change behavior, don't do that now. I don't mind you charging people to use the roads, but do it when 75% of cars are already electric. Don't do it when 5% of cars are electric and you're trying to get people onto electric. It's too soon. There's just no thought in any of this. Like the people that legislate, they have no thought. Secretive Horse has just joined us, by the way, and Tandog. Welcome, Tandog. First time on the show. Don't forget to click subscribe. Kevin has joined us as well. Cody's here. Exact Eel. Charlotte and Terry and Johnny. Mauricio and Alvina and Walker and Just Crow. Thank you very much. Yeah, lots of messages. Stacey's putting out some interesting views about abortion. Don't know that I agree. Terry says banning abortion doesn't stop abortion, but Stacey's. Let me see if I can find Stacey's message here. Stacey says abortion means murdering a baby. Well, that's not true. It doesn't mean that. It means terminating a fetus. You know, a fetus is not a baby. A baby is a baby once it's born. But prior to it being born, it's a fetus, fundamentally. And anyway, this period especially that they're talking about, you know, what we mustn't confuse is in most of the Republican districts where people have been talking about this fetal heartbeat, it's because they've found some equipment now that can detect the tiniest movement in the organ which is yet to become a heart. It's not even a heart, right? And so, well, I guess we're kind of into the first topic now. And so really the issue is that a fetal heartbeat is not what these people are talking about. You know, a fetal heartbeat is not what these people are talking about. They're talking about electrical activity in a heart that is not yet a heart. And that really is the discrepancy for a lot of this. Okay, I think that's the Daily Advertiser done. Let's move on to the Battle Creek Inquirer for Michigan. KCC trying to repair ransomware damage. Community college closes and cancels classes. As pot prices drop, pressure gets high. Independent producers feel the heat. You can't really compete with that. It says at a time when gas prices, food prices, home prices, and more are all going up, there's one consumer item that's doing the opposite. Cannabis. The average retail price for an ounce of cannabis at a recreational dispensary dropped to its lowest point in January at $153. Since then, prices have risen slightly to $191 in March, but the most recent data available says there's still a 25% decrease compared with $255 in March 2021. So that's interesting. It's getting cheaper to get high. Michigan's oldest resident has died at 114. Only 114. Her name's Irene Dunham. She's Michigan's oldest living resident, the oldest surviving student who attended Bath Consolidated School before it was bombed in 1927. 114, that's quite impressive. 10th oldest person in the world. Oh, there's a photograph of her at 109. She looks fantastic. But I tell you something, after 109, it all went downhill. That's why there's no photograph of her at the age of 114, because she really looked her age. But 109, the girl looked great. She looked great. So that's the Battle Creek Inquirer. Let's go to Missouri next, and the leader. They lead with a photograph of a emaciated deer suffering from CWD, which is chronic wasting disease. It's been found in 4 new Missouri counties. The latest results for chronic wasting disease revealed that positive cases were found in 4 new counties. The good and bad news. There's good and bad news. The disease, commonly referred to as CWD, affects the deer's nervous system, and it's always fatal. Missouri Department of Conservation samples and tests deer for CWD each year. Between July and April, more than 32,000 deer were sampled, 86 of which tested positive for CWD. It's very sad, you know? It's very sad. It doesn't say how they're getting this, unfortunately. It'd be interesting to know. Lawmakers finalizing budget boosting. Missouri ranks 50th in the U.S. in starting teacher pay. Yeah. Pandemic-driven drop. Experts urge parents to keep up with childhood vaccinations. Yes, my daughter is still overdue on her hepatitis vaccination, so needs to sort that out. She actually loves getting vaccines now that she's had coronavirus, COVID, vaccine twice. The second time was so easy. She's like, bring it on, stab me as much as you like. The CDC revealed that pandemic interrupted more than school for students in kindergarten, it says. 1 percentage point may not seem like much, but the amount of children enrolled in kindergarten also decreased, which means there are more children who aren't vaccinated against preventable communicable diseases like chickenpox, measles, and mumps. So that's the news leader for us this morning. And let's go to the Beatrice Daily Sun for Nebraska. They lead with suspect shot by Beatrice police following pursuit. Police fired multiple shots at suspect near downtown area. Why? Why did they do this? Oh, I see. The vehicle was traveling with a headlight out. So that's why they shot at it. The deputy attempted a traffic stop and the vehicle accelerated to speeds more than 100 miles an hour. Okay, so you thought it was okay to shoot that person then, did you? It says, when the individual reached into his waistband, a Beatrice police officer fired multiple shots at the suspect, striking him. Officers then rendered first aid to him, and he was transported to Bryan West, where he was in critical but stable condition in the ICU. 36-year-old. Turns out there were active warrants for the suspect from Nebraska and Kansas, which police suspect the reason why he fled. He didn't deserve to get shot multiple times in the chest, though. You know? If you don't know how to make an arrest without shooting somebody, then you shouldn't be a police officer. Trump holds Nebraska rally for Herbster. Former president supports gubernatorial candidate. Former President Donald Trump, it said, took center stage at a Sunday rally aimed to bolster support for Nebraska gubernatorial candidate Charles Herbster. So there we go. Donald Trump. I bet Donald Trump's paid for a few abortions in his time, you know? Seriously. And making an impact. Sheepgate holds an evening of impact event. A large group of supporters weathered the storms to attend Sheepgate's annual evening of impact on Friday at Christ Community Church in Beatrice. Sheepgate, a division of Adult and Teen Challenge of the Midlands, is a women's recovery program west of Beatrice. So there we go. And what else do we have here? Okay, let's just do our final. Well, we did our 45. Let's do the volley update, and then we can do our top of hour. Oh, I see. Okay, well, if you are watching right now, and if you can see me, I'm Anthony Davis. This is Backchannel. This is the only place on your Echo device where you can watch and listen to live shows and chat with hosts in real time. I'm here every weekday, Monday through Friday. From 9 o'clock Pacific, that's 12 o'clock Eastern. You can send me a message, you can ask questions, you can chime in on what we're talking about, or anything else you want to send my way. And if you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo show or Fire TV, the magic word is say. So wake her up, say the word say, and then your message. If you're listening right now on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, you can go to backchannel.tv and join the chat there. That's backchannel.tv and join the chat there. Okay, we have a few more of the morning papers to do. The Lincoln Journal-Star in just a moment, Star Tribune, Las Vegas Sun, Concord Monitor, all to come. Then we're going to look in more detail about the abortion story, which was dropped last night. This is a leak from the Supreme Court to say that abortion is likely to be banned across the country. So we're looking at some of your messages on that. And in the meantime, I'm going to play you the US News Update. It's our daily podcast that I produce that enables you to find out what's happening across the United States. You can download it wherever you get yours. And here it is. It's Tuesday, May 3. From the Volley Network, this is your daily US News Update. I'm Anthony Davis. The U.S. House of Representatives Committee investigating the January 6 Capitol attack by Donald Trump supporters requested interviews with 3 Republican lawmakers, saying they have information about the planning of the events that day. In a press release on Monday, the January 6 committee said it was seeking voluntary cooperation from 3 House Republicans, Representatives Andy Biggs, Mo Brooks, and Ronnie Jackson. Jackson, who was the White House doctor when Trump served as president, said in a statement that he would not cooperate with the committee's investigation, calling it a ruthless crusade against Trump and his allies. Brooks and Biggs also said in statements they would not cooperate with the probe. Representatives Benny Thompson and Liz Cheney, who lead the Select Committee, said in a statement that their colleagues have a patriotic duty to cooperate with the investigation. The Select Committee has learned that several of our colleagues have information relevant to our investigation into the facts, circumstances, and causes of January 6th, they said. Brooks, an Alabama Republican, had a falling out with Trump in March after Trump accused him of not doing enough to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Meanwhile, hundreds of households in the historic New Mexico city of Las Vegas were told to evacuate on Monday as fierce winds and drought pushed the largest active wildfire in the United States closer to town. The fire is the most destructive of a dozen blazes in the southwest that scientists say are more widespread and arriving earlier this year due to climate change. Your daily US News Update is part of the Volley Network. To hear my live daily morning show, ask your Amazon Echo device to open Backchannel. There it is, the US News Update. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Anthony Davis. It's, what day is it today? Oh, it's Tuesday, the 3rd of May, 2022. Welcome to Backchannel. I'm Anthony Davis, and you can hang out with me for another hour or so. In the usual way, you can support the show if you're watching right now and you can see subscribe. Well, click it, because subscribe will let you know when we're going live. And we've got some special plans coming up for people who are subscribed. You can also leave a review at backchannel.tv. Just click leave a review. Your positive shows help keep the show going. That's backchannel.tv. So very easy to do. So many people joining us on the stream right now. Which is great. Thank you. Striped Penguin has just waddled in. And Kevin's in as well. Kevin's doing some interesting chat here. He's saying, Tim says the price of marijuana is not affected by inflation. Very interesting. This is true. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's, I guess it's not really a commodity in the same way. Lively Iguana has joined us as well. First time on the show. Click the subscribe button if you can. Secretive Horse is with us. Tan Dog is here. Kevin says hi. So many messages. General Deer, James is with us. Lots of no names. If you want to change your no name to a name, you can just ask your device to change your name. Very easy. What the abortional huge gap in the population of the classes, says Kevin. Try and make sense of that. That's kind of, I think I know what you're saying. I'll tell you what is interesting, though. A poll was done. 70%, it's an ABC News poll, 70% of people in America believe women should be able to decide abortion with their doctor, and the majority believe Roe v. Wade should be upheld and legal. This is the result of a national poll. This was completed last week. In contrast, 57% of Americans oppose a ban after 15 weeks. 58%, say abortion should be legal in all or most cases. 54% say the court should uphold Roe, compared with 28% who say the ruling should be overturned. Support for upholding Roe is 6 percentage points lower than it was in a poll last November. Preference for reversing it is essentially unchanged. Instead, more in this survey expressed no opinion, 18%. Moving the question outside a legal framework, 7 in 10 say the decision whether or not a woman can have an abortion should be left to the woman and her doctor. This also is down from November by 5 points. 24% instead say abortion should be regulated by law. Even among those who say abortion should be illegal in all or most cases, a substantial share, 41%, also say it should be left to the woman and her doctor. It says trends are not consistent. While support for abortion rights is down slightly in the 2 items noted above, it's higher than previously noted when the woman cannot afford to have a child, and unchanged in other measures. I mean, this has been a hot-button issue for Republicans for 50 years plus, right? This is not a new conversation. This is not a kind of, what's new is the fact that there is an appetite now for changing the law back to how it was from 50 years ago. That's what's so crazy. Hi, Katrina, who's in Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us. Just popped in there on stream. You can click the subscribe button as well if you'd like to. We've been looking through the morning papers, and many of them are talking about this story regarding the leak of the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. A reminder that Backchannel has a growing list of shows, including Haley and Allison's Good Morning. You can start your morning from 3 o'clock Pacific, that's 6 o'clock Eastern, with 2 hours of silly fun and games. Haley and Allison and producer Will have trivia, as well as the answers to your burning questions and the news that you might have missed. They're followed by Live Every Day with Liv Harrison, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Eastern. Join Liv every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I love the fact that it's Live Every Day, but it's just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I only just worked that out. Isn't that brilliant? Why did I only just notice that? It should be called Live Every Day except Tuesdays and Thursdays. Or Live Every Other Day. It just occurred to me. Anyway, you can celebrate with her little things in life in an extraordinary way. Candid conversations, lots of laughs, plenty of coffee will fuel you and her and encourage you to live every other day. And then on air, just before me, is Get On Up with Jam and Renee. I had a little chat with them this morning. They're looking good. Jam he hosted a new Marvel movie that was premiering yesterday. And I actually saw on the Hollywood Boulevard, it was all closed, and I saw all the stuff kicking off there. And he's very big into Marvel and loves it. Renee, not so much. But it was nice to chat to them about it. He was enthusing about this new movie and about Marvel generally. In England, Marvel is the name of a powdered milk that was used during the war. Are you aware of that, Carla? Do you remember that? There's you'd buy a tin of Marvel milk. My grandmother used to have it. She wouldn't buy milk because she had a wartime mentality, right? So instead of buying fresh milk, she would buy a big pot of Marvel, and that was powdered milk, the same as they used during the war. Can you still buy it? You can still buy it in Tesco's. There you go. And she would make milk that would last the whole week in a little jug. And she would, and keep it in the fridge. Marvel milk. Is it expensive? I bet it's cheap as chips. I bet it's like £2 for a huge tub of it. It's a bit like making powdered milk for a baby, Just, it's quite disgusting. Anyway, my grandmother would use Marvel. So when I think of Marvel, I think of powdered milk first. Whereas to Americans, they think of superheroes, of which jam is one. So you can wake up on the West Coast with community and conscious living. Jam and Renee have it all covered. From what people think to who's wearing what. You'll leave entertained and enlightened every day, and you'll learn how to pay it all forward. There you go. Kevin says, my microphone's not picking up all of my words. Well, I know how you feel. Mine actually rejects several of the words that I say. It just rejects them. I think actually my microphone might be a Republican, you know? it filters out stuff. If I talk about race, the microphone just stops picking me up. Kevin says it's cheaper for milk to buy milk that way. Well, yeah, that's why my grandmother did it. She had this kind of wartime mentality. You know, why would you buy real? It's a bit like powdered egg. Do they still sell powdered egg? Oh yeah, powdered egg was very big during the war as well. You'd buy powdered milk and powdered egg. Everybody knows this, don't they? It's very dusty actually now that I come to talk about it. There we go. Sorry. My mistake. Freezing Chicken's just joined us. Hello, Freezing Chicken. You can click subscribe. Patricia's popped in as well. Ooga Booga is with us, and Katrina has joined us here on the chat. If you want to message me at any time, wake up your device, say the word "say," and then your message, and it'll just come through to me. It's very clever the way it works. I don't quite know how. It just does. Oh, and Amanda is in Georgia. Hello, Amanda. Welcome to Backchannel. Nice to know that you're here and enjoying yourself on this Tuesday morning. It's the 3rd of May. We've still got a few newspapers to look at. Let's go to the Star Tribune next. There we go. Here we go. Star Tribune for Minneapolis. That's right. Hepatitis in babies unexplained. Minnesota's youngest liver transplant recipient among severe cases. Justice is ready to rule on abortion. Draft opinion points to Roe's rejection, as we know. Holiday spirit. Kids got a chance to show off their Eid finery, plus a little silliness. That's right, because it was Eid, and I think Joe Biden celebrated Eid for the first time. Donald Trump banned the celebration of Eid at the White House, as you may remember. He didn't do any kind of formal events, especially religious ones in this way. $2 billion fund plan to rebuild damaged cities' sectors. This is Groundbreak Coalition to also address inequities in housing and funding. And what else? Waltz signs pandemic pay deal. Frontline workers in line for $750 payouts. So that's the Star Tribune. The Las Vegas Sun for Nevada. In Ohio, GOP candidates circled Trump's son before primary. This is Josh Mandel's wager was simple. No one would outflank him in mirroring Donald Trump, either on the hard right America First positions or the bellicose come at me style of the former president. So Mandel said of Black Lives Matter activists, they are the racists, not us. I mean, if you want, I can't be clearer about this. I try and say it in a way that doesn't sound too partisan. And I'm not affiliated with a political party. I don't even get to vote in the US. But I am pro-democracy. And I am pro-freedom. And I'm anti-fascist. Which I guess in Donald Trump's eyes makes me Antifa, which he designates as a terrorist organization. And when you have a presidential candidate, or in this case, a candidate for Congress, Josh Mandel, and says that of the BLM movement, they are the racists, not us. There's a white man saying that Black Lives Matter are racists. Stirring animosity towards migrants, including refugees from Afghanistan, falsely claiming the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. The Jewish grandson of a Holocaust survivor whose website features a Christian cross. Mandel stumped mostly in evangelical churches, claiming there's no such thing as separation of church and state. I mean, this is the stuff that these people are saying. And none of it celebrates your freedom. None of it goes in any way to promote integration or a future that is free of prejudice. None of it. And this guy Mandel was the presumed front-runner in the crowded Republican field for U.S. Senator from Ohio. The primary election in Ohio is today. But 2 weeks ago, the one person he sought most to impress, the former president, spurned Mandel, a former state treasurer, and bestowed his coveted endorsement on J.D. Vance, the hillbilly elegy author, remaking the race overnight. Vance, who has been trailing in the polls and running low on money, has seen a surge in donations and support since Trump's embrace as the first major Senate midterm primary election entered its final week before today's voting. So there we go. Interesting. Drug sentencing bill in limbo as politics paralyze Congress. This is the Equal Act, would appear to be a slam dunk even on a badly divided Congress. The legislation, which aims to end a long-standing racial disparity in federal prison sentences for drug possession, passed the House overwhelmingly last year, with more than 360 votes. It has been enthusiastically embraced on the left and right by law enforcement as a long overdue fix for a biased policy. It has filibuster-proof bipartisan support in the Senate and the endorsement of President Joe Biden and the Justice Department. So there we go. Interesting. So that's the Las Vegas Sun for you. And then I think we've got one more. There we go. Oh, yes, the Concord Monitor for New Hampshire. And they lead this morning with feeding New Hampshire's most vulnerable. This is the Fall Mountain Food Shelf, tucked away on a wooded 2-lane highway in rural Sullivan County. But it had a steady stream of cars. You know, people are so poor, literally so poor, queuing up for food. Electric car charging system could have consumers buy energy during low use times, like late at night with the option to sell to others during peak time. Smart charging, they're calling it. This is interesting. Next time you're filling up your car and moaning about the cost, imagine if the price of gas went down at midnight and you could fill up at night without leaving the house. Replace gas with electricity and that's smart charging. Better yet, imagine you could fill up cheaply at midnight and then sell some of the gas back to your service station when the price was high again, making $1 or $2. That's vehicle-to-grid, potentially the most revolutionary effect that will come from switching internal combustion engine and cars and trucks to electric. Well, I've been doing this for years. I basically set my car to start charging after 8 p.m., which is when the electricity price goes down. So I plug it in the afternoon, if I'm not going to drive it for the rest of the day. But it's set not to start charging till 8 p.m., and then it finishes charging at 6:59 in the morning when the energy price goes up. And I don't even pay the electricity bill. V2G, as it's known, allows big, expensive objects that have the single function of transportation to take on an entirely new function of energy storage. By absorbing and releasing electricity by a V2G, cars and trucks can ease the strain on our power grids and reduce the numbers of new transmission towers and wires and substations we have to pay for as our energy system transfers. It says although the idea for V2G has been percolating for decades, it's only just starting to take off in the US. Europe, as is usual with transportation, is way ahead of us. Isn't that nice to finally admit that Europe is ahead of the US in something? So there we go. Interesting. Sharp Gorilla just joined us. Welcome, Sharp Gorilla. You can click on the subscribe button if you'd like to. Freezing Chicken says hi. Hello, Freezing Chicken. Welcome to you. Is that your real name? I guess so. It's important to freeze a chicken every now and then. And we've been looking at this abortion story, which has been leaked from the Supreme Court document published by Politico. Suggests the country's top court is poised to overturn the 1973 decision that legalized abortion nationwide. If the court strikes down the Roe v. Wade ruling, individual states will be allowed to ban abortion if they wish. It's expected abortion could then be banned in almost half of US states. Well, the Supreme Court's justices are expected to issue a ruling in late June or early July. Roe v. Wade is in the court's sights because Mississippi is asking for it to be overturned. 13 states have already passed so-called trigger laws that will automatically ban abortion if Roe is overturned this summer. A number of others will likely pass laws quickly. Some 36 million women could then lose abortion access, according to research from Planned Parenthood, a healthcare organization which provides abortions. So, this is the big story, and this is the story that is going to you're going to see protests right around America off the back of this. They already started last night. There will be protests right across America, as there were in 1973. Should we look at this presidential candidate now? It's kind of interesting. I don't really know much about him. He looks pretty old, though. Anybody with the name Asa is always old. It's got a very old-fashioned name, isn't it? Asa. Is there a young actor called Asa Butterfield? That's nice. Well, Butterfield's an old name, so makes up for it, The Arkansas governor is Asa Hutchinson, considering a run for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024, and would not be deterred if Donald Trump made an expected bid to return to the White House. Despite finishing up his second term as governor of Arkansas and having done stints in the U.S. House and the Bush administration before that, the Republican is not nationally known, but that may well be changing, as Hutchinson appears open to the possibility of not just running for president, but also doing so as a voice who believes that the Republican Party must move on from Donald Trump. Yeah, you're a brave person if you can say that out loud. He said, "I've made it clear I think we ought to have a different direction in the future. I think Trump did a lot of good things for our country, but we need to go a different direction." I wonder what those good things were. Exactly. Anyway, Hutchinson added that a run for president in 2 years is on the table and Trump's own plans are not a factor in my decision-making process, he said. Now, there's a very big difference between running for president and having a chance at winning. Poll after poll of the potential 2024 field suggests that Trump would start the GOP primary race as the overwhelming favorite. The other possible candidate, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, is effectively running in the likeness of former President Donald Trump. And it says, at present, it would seem, though, as Hutchinson or any other Republican running against Trump in 2024 would be effectively political cannon fodder. His candidacy would be that of a credible conservative who was elected in a decidedly Republican state and simply believes that Trump does not, or at least should not, represent the future of the Republican Party. That positioning puts Hutchinson at or near the front line of conservatives like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and Larry Hogan, all of whom are seen as potential Trump protest candidates in 2024. It's a very brave thing. Oh, hi, Major Frog. Thank you for joining us. It's a very brave thing to, put your head above the parapet and to criticize Donald Trump and basically say, I don't think this is the future. He's broken ranks with fellow GOP Governor Ron DeSantis, saying he thinks it's a mistake for Republicans to go after business and punish them because we disagree with what they said. He was referring to DeSantis' decision to revoke Disney's special tax district in Florida, which allowed Disney World to essentially run its own government. Hutchinson said that the DeSantis opposition to the Don't Say Gay law violates the GOP's very mantra of both limited and restrained government. He said, I don't believe that government should be punitive against private businesses because we disagree with them. That's not the right approach. To me, it's the old Republican principle of having a restrained government. Well, DeSantis' feud with Disney, the largest state employer, came over the Don't Say Gay bill. The law bans the discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity in the classroom in certain grades. Hutchinson did not mention any issues with the bill itself or DeSantis going after the LGBTQ plus community. I've been reading a lot about this, and, I actually found out who it is behind DeSantis who's encouraging him to do all this stuff. Because it's there is actually an individual who's kind of is putting him up to all this. Her name is Christina Pushaw. That's Pushaw. Christina Pushaw. And she is a kind of far-right extremist activist. And she basically is the mastermind of the Ron DeSantis movement. So, yeah, she's a very interesting character, but is not someone to cross. Put it that way. Not someone to cross. Christina Pushaw. DeSantis and Asa Hutchinson may well end up going head-to-head on the Republican presidential nomination. Hutchinson said he is considering a run, making it clear he's not aligned with former President Trump. Hutchinson is a former congressman, head of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, in his final year as governor of the southern state, with Arkansas law barring him from seeking a third, fourth-year term. I wonder how old he is. I mean, he kind of looks almost as old as Joe Biden, although Joe Biden's not as old as Joe Biden. Joe Biden's, I think, 160. Okay, let's move on a little bit here. Actually, let's just look at his stance on abortion, which is kind of interesting. This is the same guy. He said that he signed a near-total abortion ban into law earlier this month because he wants the Supreme Court to eventually consider the legislation and overturn the 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling. He said that was the whole design of the law. It's not constitutional under Supreme Court cases right now. I signed it because it's a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade. I think there's a very narrow chance the Supreme Court will accept that case, but we'll see. The Arkansas law bans providers from performing abortions except to save the life of a pregnant woman in a medical emergency and makes no exceptions for instances of rape, incest, or fetal anomalies. Those found to violate the law could be fined up to $100,000 and get up to 10 years in prison. Who would live in these states? I mean, apart from, obviously, Christian nationalists. Tall Pelican is with us as well. Buffalo, Dependent Buffalo, Fit Cricket, Major Frog. Some great names here. Welcome to all of you. If you can see the subscribe button in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, click subscribe. The other thing that Asa Hutchinson has said is he's lamented the huge damage that the deluge of floods has caused, moments after praising the Trump administration's environmental deregulation. He has a long record of opposing almost all climate and environmental protections. He was first asked whether Donald Trump deserves credit for his state's improving economy. He responded that it was Trump's environmental deregulation that has helped fuel Arkansas's growth. He says there's been a totally different approach to the economy under Trump. The regulations have been reduced. He's given more authority back to the states in terms of environmental regulations. We can protect our environment. It doesn't all have to come from Washington. He vowed to fight against the Obama administration's clean power plant requirements, which aim to cut carbon dioxide emissions by 30%. Hutchinson accidentally pointed out the short-term and long-term ramifications of the administration's let the polluters pollute approach. His state noted is suffering from very serious flooding crisis. He said we're having the record floodwaters coming down the Arkansas River, much from rain happening in Oklahoma. They expected more, he said. We're having to close certain interstates, so it interrupts travel. And yet he opposes climate change. I mean, he can't make the connection, By rolling back environmental protections and efforts to tackle climate change, the Trump administration and Hutchinson's own actions have helped to fuel climate change's impact, such as flooding even. The National Climate Assessment released by Trump's own government warned that climate change will still cause more flooding in certain areas, including the southeast region of the United States where Arkansas is located. Increased rainfall events are already causing increased inland flooding, the assessment said. Yeah, it's just nuts. Linda's popped in from California. Welcome. Her Tall Pelican, Dependent Buffalo, Fit Cricket, Major Frog, Kevin, Sharp Gorilla, No Name, Amanda. You're welcome to comment at any point here, whatever it is you have to say. Then you are welcome to say it. Of course you are. Just wake up your device in the usual way and, do your thing. I'm Anthony Davis. This is Backchannel. I'm here on your Echo device. This is the only place where you can watch and listen to live shows and chat with hosts in real time. You'll find me Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 12 o'clock Eastern for 2 hours. You can send me a message. You can ask questions, chime in on what we're talking about, or anything else you want to send my way. And if you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo show or Fire TV, the magic word is say. So just say the word say, then your message, and you can communicate with me right here. And if you're just listening on an Echo speaker, you can't see me, well then go to backchannel.tv and click on Join the Chat. That's backchannel.tv. And a reminder that we have lots of shows here growing all the time on Backchannel, including Kate Cocker's Everyday Positivity Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 a.m. Pacific, that's 9 o'clock Eastern, for an hour of positive news and good vibes. And then following my show every Monday through Friday is Your Pal Hal with Hal Rudnick, taking you on a tour of comedy, news, and pop culture from 11 a.m. And don't forget to check out The Drive with Mario Smith, weekdays from 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock Eastern. Everyone's drive home needs a second look. Mario will make sure you are in the know. Also, let's look at this forthcoming book by the former Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, that suggested that Donald Trump wanted to shoot George Floyd protesters. Again, another fascinating insight into the mind of a fascist. It says, at that moment, according to the excerpt, Esper said it felt surreal sitting in front of the Resolute desk inside the Oval Office with this idea weighing heavily in the air and the president red-faced and complaining loudly about the protests underway in Washington, D.C. In the forthcoming book, This Will Not Pass, Trump, Biden, and the Battle for America's Future, the New York Times reporters Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns recounted a testy call in June 2020 in which Trump was said to have encouraged U.S. governors to respond aggressively to the protests over Floyd's murder. Martin and Burns wrote that Esper pressed the governors to dominate the landscapes in their state. Savaging the racial justice protesters around the country as terrorists, Trump urged the governors to exact retribution while demanding a swift return to public order. Esper, a buttoned-down West Point graduate and former Raytheon executive, advised the governors that they should seek to dominate the battle space in their states. In the Rose Garden later that day, Trump threatened to deploy federal troops if the governors did not move swiftly enough. Well, last year, the Washington Post reporters Carol D. Lonning and Philip Rooker wrote in their book, I Alone Can Fix It, Donald Trump's catastrophic final year, that Esper strongly pushed back against Trump's desire to deploy active duty troops to face protesters. They wrote that Trump mentioned the 1960s race riots to justify the use of troops to restore order. Mr. President, it doesn't compare anything to the summer of '68, they quoted the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, saying, it's not even close. They wrote that Esper then told Trump the National Guard remained the best option to stop any future unrest, but that Trump proceeded to slam on the Resolute desk and tell his defense secretary he wasn't doing enough to solve the problem. In November 2020, shortly after the U.S. presidential election, Trump announced on Twitter that he had terminated Esper from his position. Christopher Miller, the National Counterterrorism Center director, took over in an acting role. So Mark Esper wanted to shoot demonstrators protesting George Floyd's death. That was the former president. Didn't want to shoot Russian military. Wanted to shoot American citizens exercising their free right to protest. Now, this is a fascist dictator. This is not anything other than fascism. This is clear, Trump's words were, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. That's what he said. Just shoot them in the legs. Esper enraged Trump by publicly stating in June 2020 that he opposed invoking the Insurrection Act, an 1807 law that permits the president to use active duty troops on U.S. soil in order to quell protests against racial injustice. I mean, it's all fascinating, but it's also terrifying. Because what we're effectively doing here is we are getting a window on the world of Donald Trump, a guy who is so obsessed with his own self that he will shoot American citizens in order to maintain his supremacy. Mark Esper described Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger as superheroes after they voted to impeach Trump following the Capitol riot. It's also in the book. Esper said the two House Republicans voted to impeach Trump after the Capitol riot were superheroes after they joined 8 other House Republicans in a vote to impeach Trump on charges of incitement of insurrection. Cheney and Kinzinger now serve on the bipartisan House Select Committee investigating the deadly siege. Esper served as Trump's defense secretary from 2019 to 2020. He was fired on November the 9th, 2020, days after Trump lost the presidential election to Joe Biden. I mean, why would Trump, think about this for a second, why would Trump need to fire, it wasn't just Esper, it was a whole bunch of senior people in the administration after he'd lost the election, but before the inauguration, during this handover period, the transition? Why would he want to do that? Do you know why? It's because he installed people to help overturn the election. That's when Trump went to overturn the election. The day after, the result was announced saying that he'd lost, and then he fired all his staff and he brought people in who were Trump-minded and were prepared to conspire against the United States with him to overturn the election. That is why you fire, with just 3 weeks to go before your administration is finished. Why else would you change people in senior roles? Esper was the first cabinet-level official Trump fired as part of his post-election purge. In the days after, President also terminated Chris Krebs, the U.S. top cybersecurity official who'd spent weeks publicly batting down Trump's conspiracy theories, suggesting the election was plagued with widespread fraud. After the insurrection, a slew of resignations from other cabinet-level and senior Trump administration officials. Among those who resigned were Stephanie Grisham, the press secretary, Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Matthews, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, Special Envoy to Ireland, former Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger, and Senior Cybersecurity Advisor John Costello. They all resigned. And then Trump fired a whole bunch of people. By the way, Trump said he fired a lot of these people. He didn't claim they resigned. He said he fired them. Why would you want to change your administration for just 3 weeks if it wasn't to overturn the election? More and more is coming out now about what happened in those final days that enabled Trump this opportunity to see through a plan that had been in place the whole time. Deborah's joined us from Georgia. Welcome. Linda is with us as well in California. Kevin says you're talking about a guy who said maybe we can drink hand sanitizer to cure COVID. No, he didn't say that. That's not fair. He said bleach. Not hand sanitizer. That's alcohol. No, he said bleach. He said bleach very clearly. And tragically, a few people actually thought he was telling the truth, and they did drink bleach. Don't drink bleach. It's toxic. Kevin says it was probably the greatest carnival ever in the Capitol building. There we are. I wouldn't call it a carnival. I would call it, I don't know. I mean, just the whole presidency just made me very sad, you know? Well, I think Kevin's talking about the carnival being the insurrection. No, is that what the party is? It's like a kind of party rather than the administration. Ruth's in Kentucky. She just joined us as well. Ruth, you've got Mitch McConnell representing you, which is wonderful. Kevin says, I think it would have went a lot differently if it had been the Black Lives Matter protesters. Yeah, I mean, that's so true, isn't it? You know, well, they did try and pretend that it was Antifa in Trump hats. Do you remember? That's what Trump said. He said, "Oh, it was Antifa. They came dressed as Trump supporters to make it look like." And then they soon stopped saying that because it became clear once these people had gone to court and they confessed, and they've all said the same thing. All of the people that have been arrested and charged all said the same thing. Trump made us do it. We were doing it for our president. He said we should storm the Capitol. With great responsibility comes great responsibility. The famous words of Harry Truman. Reminders joined us on the stream as well. Welcome to you. Welcome to everybody who's currently enjoying Backchannel. Don't forget, you can leave the show a review by going to backchannel.tv and hitting the Leave a Review button. Not only can you send us your thoughts on the show that way, you can leave suggestions for upcoming segments. Here's an upcoming segment for you. Your pal Hal will be here in 3 minutes. I wonder if he and I are going to talk about going to see Jeff Goldblum in the Mildred Setster Orchestra. I think Hal probably thought it was better than I thought it was. You know, I have an interesting review. We'll bring you that in a couple of minutes. First, though, let us just remind you that it was on this day in 1937 that Margaret Mitchell won the Pulitzer Prize for Gone with the Wind. Yes, Gone with the Wind was published in 1936. In honors of its birthday, here are 10 things you might not have known about the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. It's about the novel here, not the movie. Margaret Mitchell wrote the book out of boredom. She was 25 years old. She wrote 63 of the most developed chapters in literary history. She was a journalist for the Atlanta Journal Sunday magazine when she took leave to recover from a series of injuries, according to the Margaret Mitchell House. Interesting. Number 2, almost no one knew she was writing a book. She spent the next decade working on characters and plot development. Almost no one knew she was doing it. She went to extreme lengths to hide her work from friends and family. Scarlett, that's obviously, Scarlett O'Hara, the character from Gone with the Wind. But for years, it says her name was Pansy. She was going to be called Pansy. It probably would have stayed that way had the publisher not requested a name change. Mitchell wrote, "We could call her Garbage O'Hara for all I care." Tara wasn't Tara. Tara was Fortnoy Hall. What else do we have here? Oh, there was another legend in Margaret Mitchell's family. Old West gunslinger and dentist Doc Holliday was Mitchell's cousin by marriage. It's a good fact. Many people believe that Mitchell used her famous kin as the inspiration for Ashley Wilkes. Mitchell doesn't know what happened with Scarlett and Rhett. Add Mitchell to the list of people who doesn't know what ultimately happened to Scarlett and Rhett. She left the ending ambiguous with no real ending, even in her own head. And even if you haven't read the book, you might have heard the last line, "Tomorrow is another day." That was also the tentative title. Mitchell also considered calling it Bugles Sang True or Not in Our Stars. Well, I think Gone with the Wind, it might be the best title of anything, don't you think? Such a great title. And the novel had its fair share of detractors. It says it might be a classic now. Not everyone was a fan of the epic novel when it was released. And that includes critics. Ralph Thompson, a book reviewer for the New York Times, said a whole bunch of things. The historical background is the chief virtue of the book, and it is the story of the times rather than the unconvincing and somewhat absurd plot that gives Miss Mitchell's work whatever importance may be attached to it. Interesting. So there we go. That's on this day, 1936, Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind was published. And so we were celebrating things that you might not have known about her book. I'm Anthony Davis. Thank you for joining me today. There's a couple of ways you can support the show. If you're watching right now and you can see the subscribe button down on the left side of your screen. Click it. Subscribing will let you know when I'm coming live next. And as I mentioned, we have some special plans for people who are subscribed. Another way you can help out is no matter where you're watching or listening is by leaving a review. So go to backchannel.tv and click leave a review. Your positive reviews help keep this show going. That's backchannel.tv and click leave a review. I'm here Monday through Friday from 9 o'clock Pacific. That's 12 o'clock Eastern. So come back tomorrow by waking up your device and saying open Backchannel. That's the way you do it. Is Hal here? Let's see if he's going to join us. I think he's going to join us in just a moment. He's your pal, and he will be here after 11 Pacific. That's 2 o'clock Eastern. He is more of he's like a popular cultural buff. You know, he knows what's been happening in the film world. A little bit like Jam and Renee this morning. They were talking about the new Marvel movie. Hal is very well versed in the films and in popular culture in a way that I really am not. You know, I'm still listening to, what was I listening to this morning? I listened to like stuff from the 1940s and 50s, and I think I'm being like hip, you know? I was listening to Aretha Franklin. I asked Alexa to play Aretha Franklin, and for like 2 hours, I just heard like non-stop Aretha. You know, that's where I'm at. I actually started to find myself quite cute sometimes. Do you ever do that? Do you ever find yourself like pottering around, cooking or something, and then you have an out-of-body experience because you're on your own, and you're pretty cute, pootling around your own kitchen, tidying up, and do you ever do that? Oh, I am completely content with myself, but I do find myself quite cute sometimes, but only when I'm on my own, like just pottering. You know, I catch myself for a moment, just like doing like little unnecessary chores. I'm like, how cute, you know? I'm watering the plants, or, you know, I like to wipe smears off the glass. It's just a little bit of cuteness. Any sign of the Rudnick yet? Any chance of your pal, Hal? No. I'm just going to have to start doing his show for him. I actually watched Hal's... is he here? Oh, here he comes. Here he is. There.
Sorry I'm running a little late there.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I actually did a bit of a deep dive on Hal Rudnick the other day.
Oh, what does that entail?
Did
you do a background check? Did my credit score?
I just searched your name on YouTube, and I ended up watching a whole load of kind of, you know, episodes of the I forgot the name of it now. What's it called? The
Screen Junkies?
Screen Junkies. That's what it is.
Yes.
I watched a whole bunch, and I never heard of Screen Junkies because obviously I'm from England. I've only been here for 5 years, so it didn't have an impact there. I'm sure it had here. It was like a whole cult thing. I had no idea.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Screen Junkies. Every once in a while I'll pop by, but do it a lot less. I mean, the company has changed hands several times now, different ownerships. But we had a lot of fun over at Screen Junkies for a good 7-8 years. It was just a great time, doing stuff with them. Got to, run around, stick a microphone in people's face and, run my mouth like I enjoy. And
so good. And you're so good at it. I mean, I really enjoy, because I'm not very good at that. I get very shy. So I can't really like go out in public and talk to people, you know, like in the street. I just don't have that skill, you know.
You have many. You have many arrows in the quiver, though.
Sure, but I just don't have the confidence to go out and do that type of thing. I'm much more comfortable, you know, like in here, talking, hiding behind this, like this. You know.
Oh, sure. No, I enjoy public displays of idiocy.
Yeah, well, you're very good at it, and I really enjoyed it when you were asking. Austin Powers questions. What looked like an English Savile Row tailor. And they were talking about fabric that they were designing for a new James Bond movie.
It was for the movie The Kingsman.
Kingsman, that's right, Kingsman.
Yes.
And you kept asking Austin Powers related questions and saying, does it cost $1 million and all this stuff? And
$1 million.
The awkward silences were so. I enjoyed that so much. I was so with
Oh,
you. And
thank
you
Anthony.
even got like asked to stop talking at one point.
I did. I was pulled aside by the powers that be, so to speak.
Now, we need to talk about the Jeff Goldblum show that you and I were both at the other
Yes,
day.
you and I hung out this weekend about 100 yards apart, but
that's
in the
right.
same building.
And I only knew you were there because Jeff Goldblum announced your name on the stage in his preamble.
He shouted
goes,
us out,
Where's Hal? And I was like, hang on a second. And then obviously you waved, and so I could see exactly where you were sitting. And I was like, but you were wearing your face mask, so I still didn't know that it was really you. There
aren't a lot of Hal Rudnicks out there, I don't think. I've Googled myself enough times to learn that.
Right.
But yeah, my wife and I were there. My wife she also got a shout out from Mr. Goldblum.
Yeah, she did. So how do you know him? Had you interviewed him and got to know him or something?
No, actually, my wife became friends with Jeff's wife, and then I was part of the bargain.
Oh, that's great. It's always nice
and
to kind of be...
Yeah, and we've gotten to be fortunate enough to be friendly with them, and just lovely people, Jeff and his wife, Emily.
Yeah. And did you enjoy the show?
I absolutely did. It was, I was really vibing along with the jazz. It was wonderful. I liked the interludes, the questions. I thought that was a lot of fun. This is my third time seeing Jeff Goldblum and the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra play.
Right. And had you seen it in that Los Feliz venue previously?
Yes, I saw it in the Los Feliz venue. It's since closed. But,
Something Table and Stage.
Oh yeah, the Rockwell Table and Stage,
yeah.
and then another venue recently, about 4 months ago, on the Sunset Strip, and then and this is the third time.
Right. Yeah, it was very.
First time at Disney Concert Hall.
Well, Walt Disney Concert Hall was just vast and arguably too big for a show like this in a way. It's like I personally did enjoy the whole thing. I didn't like any of the quiz stuff. I thought it was very poorly conceived. I was very frustrated by it. I really wanted him just to get on with the show. I wanted the show to have been directed and written by somebody. Like I felt like it had all been a bit like, we'll do a bit of this and we'll do a bit of that, and wouldn't it be good if artists just come on and start singing without being introduced? I thought the whole thing was a mess, but I really enjoyed it, because the music was so good. Jeff's not a great pianist, is he? He's a very okay pianist, but he's not famed for being a jazz pianist.
Well, yeah, that's his his secondary.
It's his secondary skill, right? So. Yeah. So, and I thought that was very interesting because I do love jazz and I do love listening to jazz. And I was thinking, it's interesting. His style is a style I have never heard before. And I was trying to work out, what is that style? And then I realized, because I read a bunch of reviews of people that had seen him previously, and they all say the same thing. They're like, he's not a great jazz pianist, but he's so charismatic, because he kind of gurns over the piano, doesn't he? He kind of pulls faces and does all these, like he's in Jurassic Park. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it all. But I would have
the places where he can strike and jump in.
That's right. There's quite a lot of striking, isn't there? A lot of striking of the keys as opposed to tickling the ivories. But I have the great capacity to criticize and critique in a positive way and also enjoy at the same time. Do you know what I mean? I think it's
someone with discerning taste, I think it's advantageous to cultivate that skill. You can still enjoy something as you're dissecting it and watching it with a discerning eye.
And then when the woman came on at the end and sung, for me, everything suddenly became 1,000% more enjoyable because this woman...
you could tell she was just at the height of her power. Like her skill set, her voice, just vastly superior.
Yeah. And we'd seen 5 amazing singers. And then this woman shows up at the end. I think she sang I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, the Nina Simone song. and literally raised the roof. And what a great way to end. I mean, they couldn't top that. And I'm so pleased that that was the last thing. So I had a wonderful time. And it would have been nice to have met you, but I kind of didn't want to. You know, I kind of was like, I actually prefer seeing Hal from a distance.
Well, my wife and I, she had her booster the day before. She got her second booster shot, and she had started to feel peaked thanks to the booster. So we beat a hasty retreat after the show.
Yes, well, so did I, and I hadn't even had a booster. I'm thrilled to, have almost met you.
Yes, that was small world.
Small world, and I will continue to troll you on YouTube and watch your videos of work from years gone by.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to. Hire a private detective to follow you around so I can learn about Anthony Davis.
I'm very easy to find. I'm just behind the microphone. Have a great show, and we'll. I'm handing over the back channel to you in the
thank you,
way.
good sir.
Of course, not at all. That's Hal. He's your pal, and he's here in just a couple of minutes. And I'm Anthony Davis. I'll come back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 11 o'clock Eastern, and we'll do it all over again. Have yourself